an exclusive video from Ukrainian intelligence. So this is a Ukrainian government source giving the Kiev Post this video, which shows Syrian rebels busting up Russian mercenaries in Syria while also being supported by Ukrainian special forces. Reportedly, 20 Ukrainian special forces operators were given 150 FPV drones to wreak havoc at the start of Hayat al-Sham's offensive on Aleppo to help break through the line and cause as much trouble for Russia's for Russia's ally. So Russia would have to scramble and try to support them, and then, not only take a hit on the world stage, but also have to possibly lose equipment, lose manpower, etc., take damage. And look, while we don't have 100% confirmation of this, we're going to look at the video, we're going to look at what we have here. This is not particularly surprising to me. If you guys paid attention to the Jack Teixeira leaks when they came out, for those of you who don't remember, there was a National Guardsman named Jack Teixeira who had access to classified information, who decided he was going to leak said classified information on the internet. Where? Well, on a Discord channel, of course. The Discord channel of a YouTuber by the name of WowMao, called the Thug Shaker Discord channel, where he was posting at first just photos. At first he was painstakingly writing up every report and posting it there, but he didn't get much reaction from people because people wanted to play like Among Us at video games or whatever. They didn't want to read his classified reports. And so he got so lazy that he just started taking pictures of said reports and posting them on the Discord, again, for a bunch of people who did not care. So he was trying to impress them, failing, and is now in prison because of it. So to say, out of all the reasons to leak classified information, Jack Teixeira probably did it for the stupidest reason. Now, we got a few pieces of information from these leaks. We got some information on possible casualty data. We've got information on American operators that are working in the country. But one thing that we got from the Jack Teixeira leaks that I thought was interesting was that the American government was hearing reports that the Ukrainians considered sending support to Syrian rebels. By supporting the Syrian rebels, they would be hitting the Russians in Syria and then taking the fight against the Russians internationally. If you damage their best fighters in Syria, then those fighters cannot be redeployed to go to Ukraine. If you destroy a T-90 tank in Syria, that T-90 tank cannot be redeployed to fight in Ukraine. And if they stay in Syria, which obviously now is not the case, then they would need to, redeploy tanks to Syria and not be able to send those tanks to Ukraine. Either way, by doing damage to the Assad regime and to the Russian backers there, you could do damage not only to the credibility, but to the military power of the Russian government and the Kremlin. And so that was the logic, and it was one of many pathways that the Ukrainian government was considering at the time, I think either late 2022 or early 2023, for their military intelligence to engage in operations. And so this happening isn't that surprising to me for that reason, but also because we had seen previous reports of possibly Ukrainian operators working in Mali to support the rebels that also took out a bunch of Russian mercenaries, but also working in Sudan with the Sudanese armed forces, teaching them how to use drones and how to properly go forward in this technological evolution, because they're fighting Khalifa Haftar, not Khalifa Haftar, that's Libya, sorry. They're fighting Hemeti, the leader of the rebel group, the Rapid Support Forces, which was a militia used by the government to put down opposition and even commit genocide. And they're very brutal, but they're also allied with the Russians. And there's a deal about, Russian gold mines in the country that they want access for, so they can have access to gold for sanctions avoidance. And so they're supporting the Rapid Support Forces so they can have access to that gold. And so the report, some stuff I saw indicated to me, the Ukrainians were supporting the Sudanese armed forces with drones and drone piloting skills, because I had even seen remotes that were being used by Sudanese armed forces soldiers that had Ukrainian text on it. And I mean, is it possible that the Sudanese armed forces is just studying up on the Ukrainian? Maybe. Is it possible that, the drone market's pretty big and one of these, remote controls made their way over there? Maybe. But it's also possible that Ukraine sent some of its military intelligence officers to Sudan to operate against the rapid support forces to try to strain Russia's gold supplies and make it so that, they have to supply either more men and material to Sudan or some other type of support in order to prop up the rapid support forces in this very brutal, very devastating Sudanese civil war after in the fallout of the Blue for Sudan movement for democracy. So these are all things that pointed towards the fact that the Ukrainians, on top of the reports we were getting from the Jack Teixeira leaks, could be engaging in these types of intelligence operations in order to suppress the Russians internationally and damage them and stretch out their resources. But this is the first time that we have any video of the operators themselves working. And so I wanted to check this out. Here it is, given to the Kiev Post by a source in Ukraine's military intelligence. This is not from the recent operations. This is from March of 2023. One second. Here we go. We got multiple videos. So here is the first one. This is from 4 months ago, and it's supposed to be reportedly Ukrainian intelligence striking a Russian base in Syria. And you can even see the Ukrainian intelligence logo in the video. That's what that was at the beginning, that thing he's showing on the screen. Okay, we don't need the music. But let's see more. This is them operating FPV drones, what it looks like to me. Going off to hit that base. There it goes, flying away. And then you see drone operating, striking on these bases, all reportedly military intelligence operations. Now, is this true? Do we know for sure that these are military intelligence operations? Well, we don't know for sure that they are. Let me give you guys some other possibilities. The big other possibility is that these are local Syrian forces that have a deal with the Ukrainians for maybe some supplies to pretend that the Ukrainian agents are there. But we really don't know for sure. We really don't know for sure. It could be them. It could not be them. But I don't believe that Jack Teixeira leaks came from nowhere. So if I had to bet, I would bet that these are real. I don't know how extensive it is, if it really is 20 drone pilots using 150 FPVs, or if it's 5, or if it's just a few trainers who train local guys. Who knows? Point is, I think some support came. I don't think that report was just lying or that they just forgot about it. And while I don't think it was decisive in like the main deciding factor, something like drone support to a country, to the Syrian rebels, teaching them how to use these types of drones, because there is history in Syria with them using drones before, dropping grenades and stuff during certain battles like the Battle of Raqqa. These more modern drones, tweaked to be faster, hit harder, and more difficult to intercept, is something different that the Assad regime's forces have not seen much of. Let's take some look at this other footage. I don't want to have to listen to the music. But there's an Assad regime position. Boom. So this is supposed to be footage of Ukrainian military personnel assisting the rebels near the front and advancing and attacking. They're giving that these are the drones that they gave them. These are them operating with the drones. Now, again, this is 4-month-old footage. So this is not a particularly new story that we're talking about right now. But it's just, it's got a new perspective on it because of the Assad regime's collapse. And the question becomes, if the Ukrainians can help this here, then how much damage can they do in a place like Sudan? How much damage could they do in a place like Libya? How much damage could they do in a place like, definitely if they wanted to work with the Turks to support the Libyan government against Khalifa Haftar? How much damage could they do in a place like Mali? All places where the Russian government currently has troops deployed And there have been rumors, rumblings, and some pieces of evidence to suggest that Ukrainian intelligence could be operating in those countries, trying to make the lives of Russian personnel a living hell. And mind you, like, you don't even need a ton of troops on the ground to have much of an impact. These ambushes that are happening on Russian convoys in Mali, that's something that could be assisted by giving them intelligence, by Ukraine working hard to get either plants inside the Russian government or to work in signals intelligence in order to tell the rebels, hey, they're going to be here at this time. Hey, there's going to be a convoy coming by in the next few days. Wait by for it. It should come by. If you wait at this point, then XYZ. That type of stuff. Point is, though, it seems like the Ukrainians don't want to take this war lying down just in Ukraine. And just like the Ukrainians took the war back to Russia itself, I was in Sumy watching them bomb into Belgorod. We all saw the Kursk incursion. There was also the other Belgorod incursions that came beforehand. That war is not just restrained to Ukraine and necessarily Russia. Ukraine has its own military intelligence. Ukraine has designed, when we didn't give them long-range missiles, what did they do? They took their 250-kilometer drones that can travel 250 kilometers, and made them travel over 1,500 to 1,600 kilometers by designing them. When we told them we wouldn't give them missiles, what did they do? They started their own missile program. When their navy was crippled because of the Russian attacks, and they had to fight against the Russian Black Sea blockade, what did they do? Once the Russians did not want to negotiate a new deal, they took Sea Baby drones and made the Russians move by targeting and destroying a plurality, if not a majority, of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, including its flagship, the Moskva. The Ukrainians keep adapting to the strategic situation on the ground. So if we heard this from the Jack Teixeira leaks a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, and the Ukrainians are continuing to adapt, I don't see why the Ukrainians couldn't have been with Hayatir al-Sham or with these rebel groups when they were launching these offensives on the Assad regime. Why they couldn't have played a role in this, as Russian hubris not only registers itself on the Ukrainian battlefield, but on the Syrian battlefield in the Levant as well. Okay. Any questions? But this woman right here, this is the one I've really been waiting for.